Hey folks, JD here. One of the things that happens at this time of the year is that the days grow shorter and the nights grow longer. Fall is now upon us here in the United States, and people often take those months in the fall, the winter, and sometimes early spring to just kind of hunker down and not get out and do much. But I've got some ideas that I want to share with you about how we can use the calendar to be able to connect with our neighbors and be able to share the gospel with them starting in the fall months, rolling through the spring. So stay tuned. Okay, before we get started, there are some thoughts that I want you to keep in mind. I know we've been talking about this for some time, but the reality is that most people do not know their neighbors. Whether we live in multi-housing units or whether we live in houses, for the most part, we don't know those who are living among us. The next thing I want you to keep in mind is that families with children like to connect with other families with children, generally speaking. And so kids enjoy playing together, and through your children's social networks with other kids in the community, you can have connections with their parents and other people within their social networks. Next, neighborhood parties are a great way to connect with people in your neighborhood. Neighborhood parties are ways that allow people in the neighborhood to come together and get to know their neighbors and those that live around them. Most communities do not have a family that regularly hosts a party for other people within the community. What I'm talking about in this episode is using the calendar for an opportunity for you to host parties to connect with those in your neighborhood. Finally, the calendar has several Christian holidays that can be used as excuses to party with your neighbors. So what I'm talking about is looking at those holidays and using them as an opportunity to be able to reach out to those in your neighborhood and say, hey, around this particular holiday, we're having an event at our house. We'd love for you to come and celebrate with us. Or maybe you do it in a park, or maybe you do an event somewhere else. But using these holiday opportunities to be able to connect with your neighbors is a very easy, very laid-back way to reach out to people, especially people that you do not know very well. And if you're living in a part of the world whereby Christianity is in a minority, you may have neighbors that are living around you that are curious to know why you believe the way you believe and why you celebrate the things you celebrate, because they've read about it in school, they've seen things on television. And so using the Christian calendar and the holidays that are there are excellent opportunities to reach out to those around you that are curious about your beliefs. So for me, I like to suggest starting in October with a fall party. The days are getting cool, but they're not cold. The opportunity to be able to stay outside, maybe on a deck or in the yard or something of that nature, where you can have kids just running around and playing, have candy, and if you want to do a pumpkin carving or something like that, things can be messy, but it's not going to mess up your house. I'm not saying that in October you have a Halloween party, but I am saying start in October with a fall party. Then we move into November with Thanksgiving. December then comes and we celebrate around Christmas. And in the latter part of December, December 31st, January 1st, we celebrate New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Then that takes us into February. And an event in February that would be a great opportunity to celebrate around would be Valentine's Day. And then you move into March with St. Patrick's Day. And then that brings us up to April, when we can begin to talk about the Easter celebration and what it means to be about Resurrection Sunday. So it's not enough just to get together with your neighbors and just to hang out and just have a celebration, to have fun and have a party, to eat together, drink together, and have kids just to play together. But there's a deliberate organization and plan and structure to these activities that you have, and your neighbors know about this long before they come and they participate. And I want to talk about those details next. Okay, so let's get this party started. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is figure out how you can get your invitation into the hands of your neighbors, the people that live around you, without doing it electronically. In other words, take an invitation, go door to door, and personally meet them and invite them over to your home. You want to build those relationships. On the flyer, it just talks about food and games. Let them know that it's going to be a family-friendly activity, family-friendly events. And if you want, invite them to bring pumpkins, invite them to bring their carving utensils and come to your event on the particular day. Now, at the event, whenever people are there, but before they leave, you need to tell them, hey, I'm planning to do this next month, and get the neighbors together to have another party and event. Would you like for me to follow up with you and tell you when that's going to happen? And if they are interested, get their contact information. Now, before the November event, from the time of the October event to the November event, you need to follow up with your neighbors again, build relationships with them, connect with them, tell them thanks for coming, thanks for being there. You may even want to, depending on your schedule and their schedule, get together for coffee or something. But allow this opportunity from October to November to be that time to be able to build some connections with one another. So after that fall event, that initial party that you have with your neighbors, the following events that you have on the flyers, they're communicated in the same way, but there is a difference. In other words, you still talk about a family-friendly party at your house or in the community or wherever you're hosting this event. There's going to be food, there's going to be fun, there's going to be games, but in the November through April events, there's going to be something a little bit different. And that is, you're going to begin to bring in a historical story about the holiday, and you're going to be able to tie that in with something that is of the religious significance connected to that holiday. When we did this in our home, what we did was we had someone to come in, a friend, who was a good storyteller. And he got the kids together. Of course, the parents were in the room when we did this for our Christmas party. And he told them about the historical St. Nicholas. We did not talk about Santa Claus, but he talked about who the historical character was. And then we told everyone in advance on our flyer that that was going to happen and that we were going to have a reading of the Nativity about Christ's birth, which marks the holiday of Christmas. So the kids knew about this, the parents knew about this before they came. We did the same thing when it comes to, for example, February with Valentine's Day. So brought someone in who could sort of be a little entertaining for 2 or 3 minutes with the kids and with the adults standing around the corners of the room listening in as he told the story of who was this person that we now call Saint Valentine. And then we had a reading about love from the scriptures that Saint Valentine upheld as something that was near and dear to his heart. So you can do these things with these Christian holidays. Maybe in St. Patrick's Day in March, have someone to come in and talk about who was the actual person, St. Patrick, and not the myths that surrounded St. Patrick. And then maybe reading a passage about true sacrifice. Of course, when you get to Easter, it's just a fantastic opportunity to be able to share about Resurrection Sunday. So I hope this video has been helpful to you. Take these ideas, use them in your setting, use them in your context to be able to share life, be able to share your heritage, be able to share your faith with people that live around you. Adjust them, make them work in your setting. The calendar is full of opportunities where we can be able to take some certain holidays that have developed over the centuries that we can use to leverage them for the gospel and making disciples of all nations. Until next time.